Welcome to another episode of Inspired Content. This week we're looking at a movie. The movie for this week is The Secret of Roan Inish. This is something I saw when I was much younger, and I remember it somewhat fondly, but I only vaguely remember the elements of the story. So I thought it'd be nice to give it another view and then see what ideas and inspirations I can draw from it. So I'll see you on the other side of it. The Secret of Roan Inish. I mean, this has got to be one of my favorite movies. I'm gonna rank this at a 12.4 out of a 12.5. It's a combination of a story of a family from a place that they've left behind, and it still is in the center of their hearts, but they always feel like they can't go back. And part of that is when they left for the mainland because there were more opportunities there, and there were hard memories in the place they left, but the hard memories are still with them when they got to the mainland. So it's got that element of the call home and how to confront that feeling and that separation from where you come from. But it's also got that sort of quest to reconnect with lost people, and that little bit of mystical wonder to it. It's just got everything it needs to be just the right story. I love this movie. Anyway, what we do for this show is we cover ideas this inspires. And as much as I want to say that you couldn't do a better movie than this, it still brings ideas of movies or books or stories that I want to tell, because it inspires some ideas. So this one's pretty simple. It's a young Selkie makes a go at being a child going to school to learn a secret. Whether it's something like they're trying to learn the secret of why humans are the way they are, or whether there's a secret, a bigger, bolder secret for the needs of the Selkie people that the child must learn by going to human school, or thinks they can learn by going to human school. A family where the Selkies and the human children live together all the time. The trick to this story, and I mean at this point you're seeing spoilers, so, but the trick to this story is the implication of a family history of Selkies, and how every generation has a child who has a little bit of that Selkie blood come through. But in my mind, I gotta think about how, like, maybe in every family that's related to them, one of the children is always a Selkie and one of them is always just a normal human. And that sort of human Selkie team, working together in their own ways to their own advantages, and what that means for a community, a small community or family in a region, to have half the children be shapeshifters. two children run away to an island to escape the school system, because one of the things they show in this is the story being told of their ancestors, and one of the ancestors was a kid who was brought into the public schools when the English were forbidding the Irish from speaking Irish. But I had the idea in my mind of two children who run away from that situation, and they run to an island that hasn't been home to people as far as they know, but they find some old houses there, so they rebuild the houses and try to live by the old ways, and they try to stay hidden and not discovered by anybody else, but somebody does find them, and it's a stranger who's unusual and not accustomed to the English language and trades in goods that are clearly waterlogged, things that come from under the water. So the implication is maybe it's somebody who's not quite human. An entire village of Selkies that pretend to be human and interfere with an oil drilling operation or some other arrangement. And they're there pretending to be a village to constantly get in the way and interfere with the plans of this company to build something or other in that location. At one point, the main character in this movie, she goes to, her grandmother takes her to do errands, and she goes to a store, and the grandmother walks off for a bit to get the grandfather out of the pub. And she's left there with the store owner, who introduces her to her cousin, who works in back, and her cousin is one of those dark-eyed ones. The implication is he's one of the Selkie blooded ones that came along at some point, but it got me wondering, if you can keep a Selkie by taking their skin, we more often than not tend to think of it as a situation of catching a wife or a spouse of some kind. You could catch a husband, but what if the store owner is taking the skins to keep workers? What if it's not just one store owner? What if it's sort of like a silent conspiracy in the town where there's a subclass of workers who are sort of captured Selkies, held there by the fact that they can't get their skins back without the permission of the person who took it? This one seems like something I may have to explore further. It's the idea of, at one point they mentioned that some communities in Ireland would hunt and kill the seals for their skin, their blubber, their meat, that kind of thing. And some would never ever allow harm to come to a seal. And so the point this brings to my mind is, if you had children whose mother was a Selkie and they were in a human form, either having just explored the possibility of turning into humans for the first time, while the mother's still in seal form, and the children are scrambling around and trying to get used to being human, they get far enough away that they're not seen when a hunter kills their mother. And so these young children don't understand what's going on, and they don't know what's happened. And they're so young that when they're taken to an orphanage, as abandoned or lost children. They're raised as humans and they think they're human. They don't know what they are. And the discovering of who they really are and the realization of their full potential could be a good first story in a series of interesting stories about children discovering their selkies and growing into that identity. Alright, so those are the ideas for this one. I hope you were inspired by some of it, and I'll see you next time.